The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. It is now 6:09 p.m. and we're here for our first budget hearing, special council meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Oscar Puig Corvée.
Here.
Councilwoman Maureen Porras.
Here.
Councilwoman Digna Cabral.
Present.
Vice Mayor Rafael Pinero.
Present.
Mayor Christy Fraga.
Present.
Mayor, you have quorum.
Thank you very much. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilwoman Maureen Porras. Okay. Agenda order of business. I don't believe we have any additions or deletions.
No, ma'am.
Okay, we'll move on to public comments. We are now opening the floor for public comments. You have 3 minutes to speak on the budget or any item that is germane to this council. Please speak in a respectful manner. Please know that we will have public hearing during the millage rate and the budget item, should you want to hold your comments till then. Do you want to speak now, Mr. Christ? Okay, Mr. Christ, I have a card for you.
Good afternoon, Pierre Christ, 10254 Northwest 52nd Lane, Dora, Florida 33178. I have several comments. I will try to make them under the 3 minutes. First, thank you very much for the exercise of the budget. I couldn't attend the workshops, but I know it's a success. We also, as the Police Advisory Board, had discussions with the chief, and we were happy to see that whatever he needs in order to be effective and make sure that we get the services that we need, he was covered, so thank you for supporting his request on that. And the other two comments are about the communication to the public, because I also got my trip notice, and I'm savvy on the subject, but I know my neighbors are not, and they come to me, so maybe it's a good time to explain to them that what we lock down or the city does is a mileage rate, because they still see an increase, but some of them don't understand that it's because it's a multiplier to the value assessed by the property appraiser. So I think it's a good opportunity for the weekly digest or whatever to explain that to them. And also maybe a little bit outside of us, but I think it's also important to remind them that whatever increase is being proposed for the waste management is independent or where the location may be end up with. There are rumors there that this increase only will happen because we're requesting the plant to be moved, which is absolutely false to my knowledge, but I guess communication is key here to maybe explain that to the people looking at those things. Lastly, yes, I have 1 minute left. My subject is about the year cycle that we're about to enter, which is about the park. I know we have a special bond for that, but I think this is a form I can address that. I know that the monies are very well calculated and how they're going to be used, but being a smart city that we want to be and trying to be as much efficient as we want to be, I had requested to please consider have the connectors ready to use the roof surface as a water heater, because one of the reasons I heard we're limiting potentially the uses of the pool is because we need to heat that water to the specs, and that costs money and energy. And we have a roof that has nothing on the top. We can put water heater system, which is a circulator of tubes that will heat or preheat the water before it goes to the heater, and they maximize the utilization of that facility, which make it more or less break it even or be a hardship of the people that will live here. Why I'm bringing that up now doesn't mean that we have to put that now, but it means that the tubing has to be done in the proper way, so when the money and time comes to have the connectors already ready to extend that to the roof and gain that maybe in a second phase or third phase, but the initial connector, the tubing that's gonna be underground, has to go to the side of whatever building that is. I don't know if that's on the room of the bond, but I really would like you guys to consider allowing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christ. Do we have any other public comments at this time? Okay, being none, we will close the floor for public comments. Madam Clerk, if the record reflect that no one else has chosen to speak at this time, we'll now move on to the public hearings. I know that this is a little bit of a complicated one for the budget time, so the clerk is going to walk us through those steps, and just be patient with us if you will. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor and council members, in preparation for your budget hearings, this is a few guidelines to refresh some of you and to provide the procedures to the new ones. The first budget hearing, so the first substantive issues to be discussed is the millage rate. The Finance Department shall publicly announce prior to adoption of the millage levy resolution the following information, which is the name of the taxing authority, the rollback rate, the percentage in taxes, and if any, and the millage rate to be levied. This is also the caption that I will read into the record of the resolution for the millage. The proposed millage rate announced at the first hearing should not exceed the rate indicated in the notice already mailed to the taxpayers, which is by the property appraiser, and the proposed millage rate shall be adopted prior to adopting the budget. Therefore, this will be the order in which we will read the items. The first item will be the resolution on the millage. We will open that, allow for the administration to make its presentation, and then that item will be tabled. Then we will move on to the ordinance, open the discussion on the tentative budget, which is the ordinance, discuss the budget and reach consensus on changes, and then table that item. Then we will go back to the resolution, take it from the table, discuss it, have a public hearing on the item, and then motion. And then the same thing with the ordinance. We'll take the ordinance from the table, discuss it, have a public hearing on the item, and then approve the final budget. I will read the first item into the record. Item 5A. A resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Doral, Florida, establishing and adopting a tentative millage rate and levy of ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 23-24 in the amount of 1.7166 mils, which is 10.17% higher than the rollback rate, to balance the general fund for fiscal year 23-24, establishing the rollback rate to be 1.5581 mils, establishing and adopting the debt service millage rate for fiscal year 23-24 in the amount of 0.4810 mils for the general obligation bonds, parks and recreation projects series 2019 and 2021, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I'll turn it over to the administration.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and honorable members of the council, along with our community and our public listening. On July 31st, 2023 special council meeting, the proposed operating millage rate was set at 1.7166 mils with a rollback rate of 1.5581. The debt service millage rate is 0.4810 for fiscal year 2023-2024. At this time, if there's no further questions from staff, the administration is requesting to table this item.
Thank you. Is there a motion to table?
Motion.
A motion by Vice Mayor Pinedo, second by Councilman Puig Corve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Madam Clerk? The item has been tabled. We can now move on to the second.
Correct. Item B, first reading, ordinance number 2023-30, adopting the budget for fiscal year 23-24. Bear with me as I read this ordinance into the record. An ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Doral, Florida, finalizing and adopting the budgets for the general fund, the transportation fund, people's transportation plan fund, the park impact fee fund, the police impact fee fund, the building technology fund, the building fund, the public arts program fund, the American Rescue Plan Act fund, the debt service fund, the capital improvement fund, the infrastructure replacement fund, the park general obligation for series 19 capital project fund, the vehicle replacement fund, the park general obligation fund series 2021 capital project fund, the stormwater fund, the parking fund, and other post-employment benefit fund, the pension fund, retitling the building technology fund to development services technology free fund, repealing the parking fund and its applicable budget, repealing the pension fund and its applicable budget, establishing the procurement and asset management department and its applicable budget of the city of Doral for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023 and ending September 30, 2024, as reviewed, modified, and approved by the city council at the meetings held on September 5th, 2023 and September 20th, 2023, authorizing the expenditure of funds appropriated in the budget, authorizing the levy and collection of taxes on real and personal property and other revenues necessary to meet the expenditures provided in the budget, specifying the methods by which grants and gifts are addressed in the budget, providing for transmittal by the city clerk, providing for implementation, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Well, I'll turn it over to the administration.
Thank you again. I'm pleased to present the City of Doral's proposed operating and capital budget for fiscal year 24, beginning October 1st, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024. The proposed 24 budget is guided by and consistent with the vision, mission, core values, and goals and objectives of the City of Doral, which were decided at the strategic planning on April 6th. The overall budget is prepared to meet the criteria of the council's strategic priorities. It reflects administration's commitment to sound financial and operational practices that realize our growing community's needs and expectations of exceptional services. The FY 2024 proposed budget as presented here is based on the proposed millage rate of 1.7166 mils. The proposed budget remains a balanced budget with the use of reserves only for capital outlay and is transferred out to capital improvement funds. On August 15th, the City Council conducted a public workshop to discuss the proposed budget. The recommendations made at the workshops are included of the updated proposed budget are as followed. Subsidizing the special needs program, funding for the golf and pickleball tournament, funding for a holiday lighting activation, and additional funding for the internship program. I'm going to have in a little bit the Parks Director come up and go through a small, quick presentation for you all so you can see how those funding is divided. Additionally, the proposed budget has been updated for the changes in revenue projections and expenditures detailed in Exhibit A of your budget, which includes 7.4% internal services from the building department to cover the internal services of the city manager, IT, finance, HR, procurement, city attorney, and public affairs. At this time, if you can bear with me, I'm going to turn it over to our deputy city manager, Frank Rios, for some additional information.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and team members and members of the public. As most of you, if not all of you, are aware, administration and department directors have been diligently assessing the city's compensation structure over the past few months. However, within the current budgeting process, we have a unique chance to rectify a longstanding issue of building department salaries, which has been a significant challenge in terms of retention, staff retention, and recruitment in recent years. This challenge has arisen due to intense competition for specialized technical and professional positions, and that's both in the public and private sectors. Through the Building Enterprise Fund, we now have a unique opportunity to address the salary disparities that have hindered our ability to attract and retain top talent here at the City of Doral. The details will be shared with you all between first and second reading. It is also worth noting that we are actively collaborating with a compensation consultant to further assess and address compensation practices and concerns in other departments throughout the city. So we did want to share that with you as part of this presentation, and I'll pass it back on to City Manager.
I wanted to just take a moment to thank all five of you for your support, your guidance in this process. I know it's been a lot of meetings back and forth, but I think it's been a great budget we've put together for the next fiscal year so we can meet all the goals and initiatives. And at this time, if I can bring up our CFO, Fernando Casamayor, to go over some information. And then right after him, we'll bring up the Parks Director, and then we can open it up for discussion.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the council.
Sorry, and I just wanted to thank the Finance Department for the hard work that you all have done in putting this together. So thank you. Fernando, Sol, Michelle, and the rest of the team back there.
Absolutely, Madam Manager. Thank you for the kudos, and I definitely want to thank my team. Those are the heroes, not me. I'm just a guy who can tell you what his stuff is, but those are the ones that do it. As the manager mentioned before, there are some changes between what you saw at the workshop and what you have in front of you today. She covered some of the changes, but I wanted to get into a little bit more detail. In Exhibit A, you will see by department different changes that were included as part of the workshop, or as we'll call housekeeping items. The majority of the housekeeping items that you see, particularly on the personnel side, is a reflection of the new health insurance rate. We did get a reduction in our health insurance, so we applied that to each of the department's budgets so that we have an updated number. And there's also some changes in the vacancy trend adjustment that we gave to some of the departments. We put some more money back in to give more flexibility for these departments to hire, even out of range if they need to. Other than that, we have the changes that you mentioned regarding special needs, the golf and pickleball tournaments, the holiday lighting, and additional funding for the internship program. In total, all in, we have we're at $107.7 million for our total budget. That's all funds. Of the general fund, our total is $78,629,000, including $3.359 million in capital expenditures, and that $1 million, a little bit over $1 million that the manager mentioned regarding the building fund. And if you have any questions, I'll entertain them at this time.
We're gonna
Parks
have
come up first.
if Erin Sullivan, our Parks Director, can come up, and if IT can put up her presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, Deputy City Manager, City Clerk, City Attorney, Erin Sullivan, Parks and Recreation Director. So I'm here today to bring back some information to you all based off of items that you requested at the budget workshop. So some of the numbers that we've gathered, this just goes through and details what we are recommending based on the activities or projects or programs. So for the Doral Pickleball Tournament, it's being proposed at $8,000. This includes tournament management, working with a company to kind of come in, help us manage that tournament, the brackets. The city would do the registration, collect the revenue. And then it also includes equipment, awards, and assistance with marketing and spreading the word. The holiday lighting activation for downtown Doral Park. We reached out to various vendors based on the pricing. We received, it's a total of $22,000, and that gets us between four large pieces that you can see here and two smaller ones that would be placed throughout downtown Doral Park. And as the conversation was discussed at the budget workshop, we could then also request sponsorship from local businesses to sort of recoup some of this funding into our revenue. And these are some of the examples of the pieces that would be available for us to put in here. The golf tournament, we reached out for preliminary pricing, tried to put an estimate, as best as we could together for you all. We're at about $105,000 for the tournament. This includes the course rental, marketing, awards, promotional items for the participants, food, as well as the ability to do a small, like an award ceremony after, a banquet of some sort as well. And then we would be, again, working with sponsors and, to do different giveaways as well as to recoup some of the cost, but there would be this upfront cost for, the actual tournament. And that pricing is based on April, just as a reference point. January to March, they say, is their peak season, and it's quite expensive. So this would be beginning in April or, out of season. The special needs programming, we got back and we've added in a new art class, proposing that. The feedback from the council was to have these at, no cost. So this is what the budget would be to add in the art class to convert the existing martial arts program where the city is paying the instructor instead of the participants paying the instructor and the instructor paying the city a revenue percentage, as well as adding in an additional days for specialized training for our Special Olympics program. So that's at a total of $38,860. We do recommend that these programs be continued to be offered at a very small nominal fee, not free, solely for the reason of accountability and participation. The challenge that we face with a lot of free programs, we see it in Step Up Doral or different workshops that we host for free. You get a great sign up, but then maybe only, half those show up. And then you have people that are on the waiting list that really did want to go, but you couldn't bring them in because you don't know really what your turnout is going to be. And with some of these programs, the continued participation is really important, especially with special needs. So having that small buy-in just to make sure that you're securing your spot, something between $2 to $5 per class, we think is fair, so that the city is still subsidizing it quite a bit, but allowing that buy-in and that guarantee for participation, so that we know those people that are registered are going to be able to go. If they can't go, we can give them a refund and bring somebody in off the waiting list instead of having sort of this open-ended. We don't know who's going to show up and how many people we can really accommodate. And that is the end of that.
Thank you, Erin. And that's included already in your Exhibit A, already as additional. It's broken down by object code there. She was just doing it total as a program. Before I open it and give it back to the mayor, I just wanted to wish our IT director, Jose Otero, a happy birthday. Today is his birthday, so happy birthday. And thank you for being here on a budget hearing day. And of course, your people would do that for you. And thank you to all the directors for working so hard on this and your team. And now, Mayor, back to you.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we can have a discussion about the budget. Then we will need to table it and then go back to the millage and then come back to the budget. But now would be the time to have a discussion about these items. So I don't know, unless you want to have the discussion when we open it up the second time. I think now would be the best time to do that. So we would need to have consensus on the items as amended and then have a discussion about anything else. So we'll open up the floor. Any comments?
On clarification, what
Councilman.
Erin was just presenting, there's an item here, it says other current charges, $83,000, golf and pickleball tournament and holiday lights activity. When I take the 8,000 and the 22,000 for the lights, it's a total of 22,000 for the lights, I think it was.
Yeah.
And take it out of the 83,000, it doesn't add up to the 102,000 that the tournament on your presentation.
Yeah, and I can answer that. It's split up into the other object codes as well. If you see in your other line items, on the top of it, it talks about marketing, and it talks about rentals and leases. The golf tournament is also included there. It's broken up because you would have to rent the course in order to do the golf tournament. So if you look on the first line item, under parks,
Okay.
it says rentals and...
On this, I'm looking at this.
There's a
The,
housekeeping, there's contractual
The
services.
Exhibit A that you sent,
Yeah, the third line says rentals and leases, $60,000.
right.
Yeah, that's $60,000 golf tournament plus printing and binding is $6,500, promotional activity $14,500, and then other current charges subtracting the 22. Well, I guess the 30,000 if you do it.
Right.
The golf tournament is in there as well, plus the operating supplies 1,000. That all equals to the 105. But it has to be split up in different object codes because there's different things being purchased, and according to the state, we have to make sure we follow those.
35,450 minus.
I was looking at my finance department to make sure I said that correctly.
Okay.
Does it not add up?
I don't think it adds anyway, but I don't know if there's something wrong with what I'm doing or could be.
Minus 8,000.
Minus 78.
If you took out the
22?
30,000.
Gives you
31.
53 plus.
450 minus 30.
I'm taking out my calculator.
Yep. Minus.
What did you say the total of, Aaron, I'm sorry, what was the total for the golf tournament that you had said?
105.
105, right?
Gives me 135 here.
So 60.
What I do is out of the total, I take out the 78,860, the 131,450, and 30,000, and I should have all the golf tournament.
You're right, it does add up to 135.
Minus 22?
No, I took out the 20, I took the 30 out of, so I did 53 plus 14.5 plus 6.5 plus 60 and 1,000. I don't know if you guys
135
wanna.
instead of 105.
Yeah, he's right. It's the second date that I didn't know about.
I'm sorry?
They budgeted for, finance informed me that they've actually budgeted for 2 days for course rental. So instead of my initial, I had it only at 30,000 for 1 day for rental. So they've added an additional 30
That's
for
why
a
it's
second day. So that's where the 60 comes from. Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
it
they
should
added
be
an extra 30.
135, which I
So
wasn't aware
is
of.
it 1 or 2 days? 2 days of golf tournament?
I think the
Should
idea
be
was to
one.
budget, the idea was to budget for the most and then
Yes.
negotiate with them what
Yes,
we.
the idea was in case we had a two-day
Because there was a
tournament,
yeah.
we budgeted for the two. Of course, we'll only spend what we need to.
Yeah, because there was a discussion of maybe having a kids tournament, which
Then what do we do with that money left? If we don't use it?
Goes back into
Goes
the
back to
budget.
Goes,
To what?
It goes back into the budget.
goes back,
To operational budget.
we would come back at the mid-year and, give you a recommendation on what we would do with the money. Or you could come back and give us a recommendation on what you'd like us to do with the money.
nothing would be expended until we agreed on what it would be.
Nothing would be expended. Even if we budget 105 and we spend 90, the difference would come back.
Right.
Yeah, I've never been in a tournament like ours for 2 days, so.
Yeah.
We shouldn't budget for two anyway.
Well, this is the
But
time
that's
to
my
have,
comment right there.
yeah,
Yep.
this is the
I
time
should,
to have the
I
discussion.
will bring it back to 30,000.
Is there consensus to remove the 30? Yeah, it's up to you all.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I think it was just the purpose of having something to work with. The idea is to raise money for Parks and Police for
course, yeah.
kids. So the idea is to really recuperate all of this through the signups and stuff. I think the discussion of the second day was if we wanted to have a kids tournament, that parents would miss out on the kids if they wanted to, but we had even talked about maybe a kids tournament in Costa del Sol. So there's a lot of options. Nothing is set in stone. It was just an opportunity to have, I think, and again, I'm only discussing what we kind of talked back and forth, but was to have a starting point, like a seed, to be able to move forward with it because Parks and Police for Kids doesn't have those funds to. So the idea was to pick up the funding to be able to give to Parks and Police for
Well,
Kids.
the idea is to raise more than 102.
Right, correct.
Or 130,
That is
whatever it
correct.
is.
100%.
Yeah.
So I have no problem reducing it to the 1 day. And we take it from there, and hopefully we have the funding as far as sponsorships to expand if we need to.
Yeah, anyway, Erin had it planned that way,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, so
we're
we'll,
not,
we'll remove the 30.
thank you.
Any other comments?
Another question I have, on the police department, the chief was here.
The chief is here somewhere.
Of course. I don't know if he needs to talk, it
Oh.
could be anybody, but
Thank you.
my question here, it's operating supplies on the $300,000 fleet wrapping. What does that compare to what we had before on fleet wrapping, and how many, is that the total for the vehicles or just one vehicle? This is total, right?
Chief, can you come up? Yeah, that's the total from what I understand. He's talking about the 300,000 for the fleet wrapping on the changes. Your question was if that was the total for all the vehicles, Councilman?
Yeah, and what was it compared to what we were doing before, price-wise?
So the 300,000 is not the total price of only that. The 300,000 was the vehicle restriping. It was also laptops. It was academy tuition for new recruits. It was vehicle uniforms as well for our officers. So it was a multitude of items that totaled almost 300,000.
Because it just says fleet wrapping on recent, that's why. Should be more detailed then.
That's only the wrapping. It's only the wrapping.
It's only the wrapping, finance says. So so how does that compare to the previous wrapping that we used to do,
Well, the previous wrapping was basically
price-wise?
It's comparable. It's just a different set of decals. But in terms of, we've always paid for the striping anyways. It was just bundled in one area. So the vehicle was delivered already with the product. This would involve us getting another vendor to come in and then perform the work.
Can finance tell me the previous cost of wrapping compared to now?
Yeah, they can look it up, what the breakdown was. So they usually buy the vehicle and then they send it out for wrapping along with putting the equipment on it. Is that correct? It's part of retrofitting is what I hear Sol saying.
Yeah, the vehicle's delivered here already turnkey with lights, with decals, with all the components that make up a police car.
Right.
This is different because we're only utilizing that system to outfit currently existing outfitted cars already. So it would only be new cars wouldn't have a substantial increase because it would just be a redesign. Where the cost increase comes in is to redesign the existing fleet.
So we're redesigning the entire fleet right now,
No, we're exploring
exploring.
the redesign. We haven't started that yet.
Okay.
as a matter of fact, we had a meeting today with the Police Advisory Board. Still working on some tweaks to the design. We know we shared a design with the team, with the mayor and the vice mayor and the council, as to a prototype that was developed by the officers. It was a work group that we established where we got officers that have been here since the beginning to contribute and add input. So they created this as a baseline, but we wanted input as well from our Police Advisory Board. So today they provided us with some positive feedback. It was a good meeting. They were able to see the vehicle prototype, and they had some they requested some edits. So we're going to be redesigning a couple things, and we will bring back a revised model with some tweaks.
So you haven't just only talked to the mayor and the vice mayor about those changes that you're proposing?
I'm sorry?
What you said right now is you just have talked to the mayor and the vice mayor about
No,
the
I haven't.
proposing?
We had a
Created
meeting.
an LTC to
Oh,
all
wait,
5
yeah.
of you.
No, we had a meeting just today.
Okay.
So that's information that we haven't even briefed anybody. We're going to work on that redesign in the coming days, the team, and then when we have an established a prototype, then we'll share it with the team. And that's still not finalized. Then we'll share information with the team and see something that everyone agrees upon.
Yeah, we had a conversation about it, and
Yes, sir.
what I like to know is it's budget time now. Tomorrow could be too late for decisions money wise. So, yeah, are we going to retrofit every single car? You just said no. So what is the plan? So we have an idea what's going to be spent or not, and what is it compared to? Which I guess finance is going to tell us. What is the cost comparison?
Yeah, I don't have the cost comparison information right now. We need to sit with Public Works and Police to determine the actual cost of the striping of those vehicles outside of the rest of the retrofit. Between first and second, we'll have that information, and we can share it with you prior to the second meeting, so you can see
Okay.
the apples to apples.
Thank you. That would be great. Thank
And
you.
may I-
And if we can have a plan of what you're going to do for the second, so we'll know the actual cost. If we're going to do one car, or the entire fleet retrofit, or 'cause if the new ones are coming out as you mentioned, and if I understood correctly, that's part of the cost of the car.
Correct.
They come with the lights, the sirens,
Correct.
computer, striping, everything.
Yes.
But if we decide, or your department decides and presents us retrofitting every other car, what will be the cost? That will be important.
Got it. We'll share all that information.
Thank you so much.
Through the mayor. Along with that, it still needs to go through the procurement process too. So that's also a part of it, whether we use a state contract that they may have or another city's contract in regards to that cost, because the cost is high. So no matter what, it's going to come back in front of you. He's doing his due diligence right now with the Police Advisory Board, is what he had stated. And then that will come back in front of you at a later date at a council meeting date. This is just budgeting the funds, and there's enough funding in case. Originally, there was a quote that they had that was somewhere around $110,000. But, still through the procurement process, we got to go through all of that, make sure the vendor is qualified, talking to the Police Advisory Board, getting other inputs. There was a letter to council that was sent to all of you, I believe, a little over 30 days ago, that showed a sample of what the police department had put together, that he created a team to identify what the police vehicles could look like.
A team of the officers.
That's correct.
Yeah, correct. So how it was is that basically we sent out email memorandum to the entire police department and requested input who wanted to be part of this redesign group. So we had a variety of individuals, even civilian folks on our support staff, folks that contributed and wanted to kind of be part of that work group. So we had multiple sessions with that. If you see our police bikes, our motors unit, they transitioned to black and white a few years ago. They used to be blue and yellow. So this is just a continuation of that, so that we are all on the same page in terms of the sworn personnel.
Uniform.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you, Chief.
Okay. Any additional comments, questions? Councilwoman?
So just for clarification, we have to vote on this amendment and the budget? And
This is already part, the way that the exhibit is, it's already part of the budget. So you would just vote for the budget at this point.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am.
I have an additional clarification, actually, now that the councilwoman brought that up. The deputy city manager brought up the issue with the building department. Do you need direction to include that for the second reading?
We will provide you more information. We're going to add it to the second reading. We will give you all the information. Right now, they're doing the numbers in order to bring them up to par. But as the deputy manager had stated, we have a lot of inspectors that we're losing. You know that the building department is an enterprise fund. We will be bringing that back regardless in front of you for approval to make sure that we have whole so we can stop losing inspectors and plan examiners and such. So yes, that.
Come back in second reading.
Yes, it will come back in second reading. We'll provide you information prior to. If you want to sit with us one-on-one or with the building department, we'll be happy to coordinate that as well with you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so it seems that we have consensus on this budget amendment as presented, minus the $30,000 for under Parks and Recreation, object code 500440. Well, we're improving. We're basically going to. This is basically the. Right. This is we have to table this, but we have now reached consensus on the budget and on these amendments. Is everybody okay with that? Which is the entire budget. We're okay with that? Yes? Okay.
Hold on.
Oh,
So
sorry.
just for the record, for clarity's sake, the $30,000 that we're removing from the golf tournament, we will be putting it into contingent reserve so that we stay with a balanced budget.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Fernando. All right. I need a motion to table. Motion to table by Vice Mayor Pinedo, second by Councilman Puig Corve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and now we will need to take from the table. Thank you.
We're going now back to the resolution, item 5A. A resolution of the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Doral, Florida, establishing and adopting tentative millage rate and levy of ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 23-24 in the amount of 1.7166 mils, which is 10.17% higher than the rollback rate, to balance the general fund budget for fiscal year 23-24, establishing the rollback rate to be 1.5581 mils, establishing and adopting the debt service millage rate for fiscal year 23-24 in the amount of 0.4810 mils for the general obligation bonds, Parks and Recreation Project Series 2019 and 2021, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do you actually need a motion to take from the table? Okay, I need a motion. Motion by Vice Mayor Pinedo, second by Councilman Oscar Puig Corve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we now have the item in front of us, and I will open the floor for the public hearing. The floor is now open for public hearing on the proposed millage rate. Please come up and speak at the podium if you have any comments. Speak within 3 minutes in a respectful manner. Okay, being no public comments, floor is now closed for public comments. Madam Clerk, let the record reflect no one has chosen to speak at this time.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilman Oscar Puig Corve, second by Vice Mayor Pinedo. And we need a roll call for
Yes,
this
ma'am.
one. Thank you.
Motion to approve by Councilman Puig Corve, seconded by Vice Mayor Pinedo. Councilman Puig Corve?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pinedo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabral?
Yes.
Councilman Porras?
Yes.
Mayor Fraga?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, now we need to take from the table the tentative budget item ordinance.
Yes, I will read into the record. Once again, bear with me.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Item B, ordinance number 2023-30, adopting the budget for fiscal year 23-24, and ordinance of the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Doral, Florida, finalizing and adopting the budgets for the General Fund, Transportation Fund, People's Transportation Plan Fund, Park Impact Fee Fund, Police Impact Fee Fund, the Building Technology Fund, the Building Fund, the Public Arts Program Fund, the American Rescue Plan Act Fund, the Debt Service Fund, the Capital Improvement Fund, the Infrastructure Replacement Fund, the Parks General Obligation Bond Series 2019 Capital Project Fund, the Vehicle Replacement Fund, the Parks General Obligation Fund Series 2021 Capital Project Fund, the Stormwater Fund, the Parking Fund, the Other Post-Employment Benefits Fund, the Pension Fund, retitling the Building Technology to Developmental Services Technology Fee Fund, repealing the Parking Fund and its applicable budget, repealing the Pension Fund and its applicable budget, establishing the Procurement and Asset Management Department and its applicable budget of the City of Doral for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023 and ending September 30, 2024, as reviewed, modified, and approved by the City Council at the meetings held on September 5th, 23 and September 20th, 2023, authorizing the expenditure of funds appropriated in the budget, authorizing the levy and collection of taxes on real and personal property and other revenues necessary to meet the expenditures provided in the budget, specifying the methods by which grants and gifts are addressed in the budget, providing for transmittal by the city clerk, implementation, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Take a breath, Madam Clerk. All right, I need a motion to take from the table. Motion by Vice Mayor Pinedo. Second by Councilman Puig Corve. And now we will open up the floor for public comments on the tentative budget ordinance. Please come up and state your name and address for the record. Speak within allotted 3 minutes in a respectful manner. Okay. Being no public comments, we will close the floor for public comments on this item. Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that no one has chosen to speak at this time. And now we will take a motion to approve by Vice Mayor Pinedo. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Porras. All right, Madam Clerk, we need a roll on the budget as amended.
Yes. Motion to approve ordinance number 2023-30 as amended, made by Vice Mayor Pinedo, seconded by Councilman Porras. Vice Mayor Pinedo?
Yes.
Councilman Porras?
Yes.
Councilman Cabral?
No.
Councilman Puig Corvée?
Yes.
Mayor Fraga?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. I just want to quickly thank the administration, thank the team in finance, as well as every department director for your very hard work on this. And also thank you to my colleagues for their support on this budget. I think it really does accomplish all of our goals and objectives for this year. Does anybody have any additional comments? Any
Yeah, I
additional
need
comments?
to.
Thank you.
offer
Oh, sorry.
oh,
Go ahead. No, you go first.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
I know that you all are working very hard on bringing up a budget and try to have a balanced budget, but there's still some discrepancy that I need some information, further information, even though I know that I sit down with you and review a few things, but there are other things that I have found that I really think that I need more detail on that one so I can approve the budget when it comes to some of the departments as well administration.
Thank you. Councilwoman, any other comments? Councilman, you had comments?
Just want to thank the manager, assistant manager, and every department leader, and also everyone that works with you for your work. It's I know it's a couple of months or even more, several months of hard work and back and forth and thinking and planning and don't know what's going to happen, but we're here today. I hope that we can service our residents the right way with the decision we just made today. Remember, please, that our residents is our main goal, not us, and that's who we work for. So thank you so much for your hard work.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to echo the comments from my colleagues. As I said before, I mean, you guys, from the administration to the directors, you guys took everything that we covered during the strategic planning session and put it in here. So I just want to thank all the directors because it's a lot of work that you guys do. As I always say, from the directors, from the police department, everybody that is part of the city. I mean, you guys, again, we spend a long day during the strategic planning session, and you guys cover pretty much everything on this budget. So I just want to say thanks to the administration and to the directors and everybody that has been part of this budget.
Thank you.
I also want to thank our manager, deputy manager, all the department heads, all of my colleagues, especially for hearing us and making the amendments that you've made because of our conversations. And, you know, it makes it a lot easier for us to come up here and sort of go through this. So, and our attorney as well. Thank you all for the hard work.
Thank you. Great job, everybody. Okay, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Councilman Puig Corvée, second by Vice Mayor Pinedo. That's his favorite motion.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.